In this video, we are going to be reviewing the RR, the request for repair form, as well as the RRRR form that is below this one. You'll find this on page 73 of the Compliance Review Training Contracts document that is in the app. So first off, we want to show here that this is a numbered document. So there must be a number included in this document. Request for repair number 1, request for repair number 2, and etc. Make sure that we do have all numbered documents. We can't have number 2 without number 1. We can't have number 1 and 3 without number 2. So just make sure we have all of the numbered documents. Date prepared, address that it refers to, the buyer and seller that it is part of the transaction needs to be completed. In this section here, the buyer is going to list out the requests that they're making. Make sure that they are clearly written on what the buyer wants and how the buyer wants it to be resolved. It's not going to just state that a light switch is broken. So you're going to want to state that seller to replace and repair the broken light switch in the living room, or licensed contractor to fix the broken light switch in the living room, something like that. If this section refers to any of these sections, actually, B has to do with pest control here, sections 1 and sections 2, or this area right here. Any reports referenced in any of these sections here, actually all of these sections, if a report is listed, it must be a requirement. So if they're listing a pest control, toggle back to the checklist, make under the report section of the checklist, click the must upload button, and then in the comments say referred to in RR. If it's listed, it must be a requirement and must be uploaded. Also here in this section for any VA or FHA loan requirements. A lot of the times on this form, the CR or the contingency removal reform box will be marked. If this box is remarked, toggle back to the checklist, click the button must upload, and make the CR form a requirement. This form is a 2-page form, and the buyer and seller must initial page 1, and the buyer signs here at the top of page 2. Then we're looking for how did the seller respond. One of the 1 through 4 sections here needs to be checked if the seller responded. So seller agrees to all the requests and then sign it. Nothing else is needed. They're going to do what's asked for by the buyer on page 1. Or if the seller is partially agreeing, then they're going to list out what they're agreeing to. We're going to notate any additional things, like, for example, if the box for the contingency removal form was not checked on page 1 and the seller wants it, they're going to check it here. You're going to make it a requirement. But we're going to notate anything here that changes what is above. And if there are any changes, anything other than the seller agrees, then we're going to look for the next section to be completed as well. But let's finish this section. We're going to make sure that any additional forms that are marked, so seller can respond on an RRRR. So we're going to look for that form. We're going to make it a requirement, and we're going to make sure that that is uploaded and required. If this box is marked, we're going to make this form a requirement. And then here is just simply seller does not agree, and seller signs it. So if anything other than seller agrees to all of buyer requests, then we're looking for the buyer's response to how the seller then changed what the buyer was asking for. Buyer accepts, and if a buyer accepts, they sign, and we do not need to go any farther. Or buyer responds then on a new RR number 2. So this would, or number 3, this form right here cannot be number 1 unless they're referring back to number 1 and not make any changes, and makes a new request. Or actually, I'm sorry, buyer withdraws request number 1 and makes a new request on, say, number 2. Or buyer withdraws number 2 and makes the new request on number 3, and then signs. And then from here, this is just making sure all pages. This here is the RRRR form, seller's response to buyer. We want to make sure that we are notating that it is numbered and that we have all numbers. We want to notate what it refers to. So this is referring back to the conditions in the request for repair number 1, dated on this date, or this is referring to request for repair number 2, dated on this date. Address, all parties' names need to be included. And then here's how the seller responds to that. We're looking for any checklist box that are checked and any forms that then become a requirement. And then seller signs it and buyer initials page 1. This is a 2-page form. And then we're looking for a response from the buyer. Buyer either accepts or changes. And again, we're following the sequence. Is there new forms that are required? Buyer and seller, again, we're just following the sequence. We agree or we reject, and we keep looking for the sequence of how this goes until we come to a resolution by both parties. Thank you for watching this video on RR and RRRR.